Episode 22. The night before. Marcus checked his watch again. 8:47 p.m. 15 hours and 13 minutes until Carmen stood before a federal magistrate and made everything official. 15 hours until Diego knew for certain his sister had chosen the other side. The safe house had settled into uneasy quiet. Agent Martinez was in the kitchen preparing sandwiches nobody would eat. Agent Reeves maintained his position at the front window, coffee cup in hand, watching the street with professional vigilance. Upstairs, Maria Santos's prayers had finally stopped, replaced by the creaking of bed springs as she lay down to sleep. Marcus stood at his own window, watching darkness swallow the suburban neighborhood. Queens felt like another planet compared to the Bronx. Manicured lawns, cars that weren't stripped for parts, silence that didn't feel dangerous. But the peace was an illusion. Diego was out there somewhere, planning. Moving pieces on a board Marcus couldn't see. "You gonna stand there all night?" Marcus turned. Tommy stood in the doorway, still wearing the same clothes from the rooftop escape, his dark hair matted and disheveled. His eyes were bloodshot, whether from the 2 hours he'd spent trying to sleep or from something else, Marcus couldn't tell. Couldn't sleep? Can't stop thinking. Tommy moved to the window beside Marcus, his reflection ghostly in the glass. About tomorrow. About what happens after. Agent Johnson said they'll move us to a different location after the court appearance. Somewhere Diego can't find us. And then what? Tommy's voice carried an edge Marcus recognized, the same bitter tone that crept in whenever Tommy talked about his father. We sit in another safe house for how long? Months? A year? While they build their case? Marcus didn't have an answer. The truth was, none of them knew what came next. Johnson had been honest about that much. The case against Diego would take time, and time meant waiting. Time meant their families staying vulnerable while they hid behind federal protection. "My old man's probably passed out by now," Tommy said quietly. "Probably doesn't even know I'm gone. Hell, he might not notice for days." "Tommy, I'm not looking for sympathy." Tommy's jaw clenched. "I'm just saying, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe nothing we did matters." Before Marcus could respond, footsteps on the stairs announced Ray's arrival. He moved like a cat burglar, silent and careful, his slim frame tensed as if ready to bolt. His hands weren't twitching anymore, but his eyes never stopped moving, scanning corners, checking exits, calculating escape routes. "Can't sleep either?" Marcus asked. Ray shook his head. He'd changed into a clean t-shirt Martinez had provided, but his jeans were still torn from the warehouse escape. "Keep seeing things when I close my eyes." "What kind of things?" Ray's expression shuddered. "Doesn't matter." It did matter, Marcus thought. Whatever Diego's crew had done to Ray during those hours at the warehouse had left marks that went deeper than bruises. But Ray wasn't ready to talk about it, and Marcus knew better than to push. The three of them stood in silence, watching the empty street. Somewhere in the house, a clock ticked. The refrigerator hummed. Normal sounds in a normal suburban home, except nothing about this was normal. "You think Diego knows where we are?" Tommy asked finally. Marcus considered the question. "Johnson said this location is classified. Only a handful of agents know about it." "That's not what I asked." No, it wasn't. Because Diego had resources, connections, ways of finding things that should be unfindable. He'd built an empire in the Bronx through information, knowing who to pay, who to threaten, who to trust. The idea that a federal safe house could keep them hidden felt like wishful thinking. "He's out there," Ray said quietly. His voice was flat, matter-of-fact. "Right now, planning something." Marcus wanted to disagree, but he couldn't. Ray was right. Diego wasn't the type to accept defeat. He'd lost his sister, his operation was exposed, federal agents had his photographs and Miguel's testimony. But Diego had survived in the Bronx by being smarter and more ruthless than everyone else. He wouldn't just roll over. "What do you think he'll do?" Tommy asked. Ray turned from the window. In the dim light, his face looked gaunt, older than 18. Whatever it takes to survive, that's what people like Diego do. They adapt. Footsteps behind them made all three turn. Miguel stood in the doorway, his lean frame backlit by the hall light. His hair was wet. He'd showered, trying to wash away the last 48 hours, but his eyes carried the same exhaustion they all felt. "Carmen's asleep," he said quietly. "Finally. How is she?" Marcus asked. Miguel moved into the room, keeping his voice low. "Scared. angry, guilty about her mother being upstairs while Diego's out there. He ran a hand through his damp hair. I keep trying to tell her this isn't her fault, but it was in a way. Not really, but Carmen would carry that weight anyway. She'd betrayed her brother to save herself and Miguel. She'd chosen love over blood. That kind of choice left scars. She'll be okay, Marcus said, not entirely believing it. Once this is over, when will it be over? Miguel's question hung in the air. Johnson said months, maybe a year. That's not over. That's just waiting to see what happens next. Marcus checked his watch again. 8:53 p.m. 14 hours and 7 minutes. The four of them stood in the living room, the weight of everything pressing down. Marcus thought about his mother, working another shift at Columbia, probably worrying about where he was. He thought about the letter hidden under his mattress, the goodbye he'd written in case he didn't survive the warehouse. Would she understand? Would she forgive him for throwing away everything she'd sacrificed for? My grandmother's praying for us, Ray said suddenly. Right now. I know she is. Probably got every candle in the house lit, rosary in her hands. His voice cracked slightly. And I can't even call to tell her I'm okay. Agent Johnson said they'd notify our families, Marcus offered. That's not the same. Ray's hands started their familiar twitch, fingers curling and uncurling. She raised me since I was 6. She deserves better than some federal agent showing up at her door. Tommy made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. At least your grandmother gives a damn. My old man probably hasn't even noticed I'm gone. Tommy, Miguel started. It's true? Tommy's voice was hard. He's probably passed out on the couch right now, empty bottle on the floor, television still on. Same as every night. And when Agent Carter showed up to warn him, he probably told them to go to hell. Nobody contradicted him because they all knew it was true. Frank Ritchie had been drinking himself to death for years, and Tommy had watched every minute of it. The bitterness in Tommy's voice wasn't new. It had been building for a long time. He wasn't always like that, Tommy said quietly. His reflection in the window looked haunted. Before my mom left, before he got laid off from the plant, he used to, it doesn't matter, that person's gone. Marcus wanted to say something comforting, but what was there to say? Tommy's father had made his choices, and Tommy had made his. They were all making choices now, and living with the consequences. Agent Martinez appeared in the doorway. I made sandwiches. You should eat something. None of them moved. She sighed, a sound of professional patience worn thin. I know you're not hungry, but you need to keep your strength up. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. What time do we leave? Marcus asked. Martinez checked her watch. 7:30. The courthouse is 40 minutes away, and we want to arrive before the media circus starts. Diego's lawyers will be there, probably with reporters. He's going to make a show of it, Miguel said. Make himself look like the victim. That's the plan, Martinez agreed. But we'll be ready. Agent Johnson is coordinating with the U.S. Attorney's Office. They're prepared for Diego's tactics. Marcus doubted that. Diego had spent years outmaneuvering cops and rivals. He knew how to play the game, how to use the system against itself. A federal courtroom might be new territory, but Diego would adapt. What about our families? Ray asked. His voice was tight. Are they safe? Martinez's expression softened slightly. Surveillance teams are in place. If Diego or any of his people approach your families, we'll know immediately. That's not what I asked. I know. Martinez met Ray's eyes. I can't promise nothing will happen, but we're doing everything we can. It wasn't enough. They all knew it. Surveillance meant watching and waiting, reacting instead of preventing. If Diego decided to hurt their families, there would be a window, however brief, where federal agents couldn't stop it. Marcus thought about his mother again, Helen Williams, who'd worked double shifts for 4 years to save money for his college expenses. Who'd scrubbed toilets and mopped floors at Columbia so her son could walk those halls as a student instead of a janitor. Who'd made a promise to Marcus's father on his deathbed. Get him out. Get him to college. Give him the life we never had. And Marcus had thrown it all away. No, that wasn't right. He'd made a choice. Agent Reeves had said that. Marcus hadn't thrown away his future. He'd chosen something else. He'd chosen Miguel. He'd chosen to fight Diego instead of running away to safety. But would his mother see it that way? You should try to eat, Martinez said again. And get some rest. Tomorrow starts early. She left, her footsteps fading toward the kitchen. The four friends stood in silence. Outside, a car drove past, its headlights briefly illuminating the room before darkness returned. Marcus checked his watch. 9:02 p.m. 14 hours until everything changed. I keep thinking about July, Miguel said quietly. When this all started, if I just stayed away from Carmen like her parents wanted. Don't, Marcus said firmly. Diego was always going to be Diego. This was always going to happen. But Carmen made her own choices, just like we did. Miguel shook his head. She shouldn't have had to choose between her family and us. Diego made her choose, Ray said. His voice was flat again, emotionless. He's the one who forced it, not you. Tommy pushed away from the window. I'm gonna try to sleep. Even if I can't, I need to lie down. My head's killing me. He left without waiting for a response. They heard his footsteps on the stairs, then the sound of a door closing. He's not okay, Ray observed. None of us are okay, Marcus replied. Ray almost smiled. Fair point. Miguel moved to the couch and sat down heavily. He looked exhausted, the kind of tired that sleep couldn't fix. What do you think happens after tomorrow? Johnson said they'll move us, Marcus repeated. New location, probably out of state. And then we wait, while they build the case, while they try to flip people in Diego's organization, while they trace money and map distribution networks and do whatever federal agents do. That could take months. Yeah. And our families just wait too, hoping Diego doesn't come after them? Marcus didn't answer because there was no good answer. The truth was ugly. They'd saved themselves and Carmen, but they'd left everyone else behind. Their mothers, their siblings, their grandmothers, all of them were still in Diego's territory, still vulnerable. We did the right thing, Marcus said, more to convince himself than Miguel. We had to stop him. I know. Miguel's voice was barely a whisper. I just wish the right thing didn't hurt so much. Ray moved to the window Marcus had vacated. He stared out at the dark street, his slim frame silhouetted against the glass. My grandmother used to tell me God doesn't give us more than we can handle. I never believed that. Seems like God gives people way more than they can handle all the time. Your grandmother's a wise woman, Marcus said. She's a survivor. Ray's reflection showed a bitter smile. That's different from wise. Survivors just keep going, even when it doesn't make sense. Footsteps on the stairs made them turn. Carmen appeared, wrapped in a borrowed robe that was too big for her petite frame. Her dark hair was loose around her shoulders, and her eyes were red from crying. I couldn't sleep, she said quietly. Every time I close my eyes, I see Diego's face in the garage. When he realized, Miguel stood immediately and crossed to her. He pulled her into his arms, and she buried her face in his chest. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. It's okay, Miguel murmured. You're safe. Your mom's safe. That's what matters. But Carmen shook her head against his chest. He's my brother. I grew up with him. We played together when we were kids. And now he was the enemy. Now he was the monster they were testifying against. The brother who'd controlled her, manipulated her, used her to trap Miguel. The brother who'd built an empire on heroin and violence. Marcus thought about what it must be like for Carmen to love someone and hate them at the same time. To remember the brother who'd protected her from neighborhood bullies while knowing he'd become the bully himself. To carry both versions of Diego in her heart and not know which one was real. Maybe they both were. Maybe people could be heroes and villains at the same time. Tomorrow, Carmen said, pulling back from Miguel and wiping her eyes. When I stand in front of that judge, when I say I came to the federal agents voluntarily, Diego will know for sure. There won't be any doubt left. Are you ready for that? Ray asked quietly. Carmen was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. I have to be, because if I don't do this, Miguel goes to prison. Or worse. And I can't. I won't let that happen. Miguel's arms tightened around her. Carmen, it's true. She looked up at him, her dark eyes fierce despite the tears. Diego would have destroyed you. He was already destroying you. I saw it happening. Every day you worked for him, I watched you disappear a little more. That's over now, Miguel said. Is it? Carmen's voice cracked. Or is this just a different kind of destruction? None of them had an answer to that. Agent Reeves appeared in the doorway. Everything okay in here? Fine, Marcus said automatically. Reeves didn't look convinced, but he nodded. Try to get some rest, all of you. Tomorrow's going to be hard enough without being exhausted. He left, returning to his post at the front window. Marcus checked his watch again, 9:17 p.m., 13 hours and 43 minutes. The night stretched ahead like an endless road. Somewhere in the Bronx, Diego was planning. Somewhere, their families were sleeping or worrying or praying. Somewhere, the wheels of justice were turning, slow and inexorable. And here, in this suburban safe house that felt like a prison, 5 teenagers waited for morning, waited to face the consequences of their choices, waited to see if doing the right thing would save them or destroy them. Marcus looked at his friends, at Miguel holding Carmen, at Ray standing guard at the window, at the empty space where Tommy should be. They'd come so far together. From childhood in the Bronx, through years of friendship and loyalty, to this moment where everything hung in balance. Whatever happens tomorrow, Marcus said quietly, we face it together. Miguel nodded. Carmen managed a weak smile. Ray turned from the window, his expression unreadable. Together, Miguel echoed. But as Marcus checked his watch one more time and saw the seconds ticking away toward dawn, he couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow would change everything. That when Carmen stood before that federal magistrate and confirmed her betrayal, it would set events in motion none of them could control. Diego wasn't done. He couldn't be. Men like him didn't accept defeat. They adapted, evolved, found new ways to win. And somewhere in the darkness of the Bronx, Marcus knew his old friend's enemy was planning his next move. The storm was coming. They just didn't know when it would break.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.